What's going on, guys? I'm YST and welcome back to another Raid Shadow Legends video. And today we have got a very special guest, and I will say that this one is super overdue, and I'm talking back to 2021. We have got Fastidious. How's it going, bro?
It's going great. Yeah, I think we first started talking about doing a collab in like March or April 2021. So it only took us 4 years. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? Because you actually covered, for anyone that's not aware, Raid Shadow Legends for a good period of time before shifting over to Watcher of Realms. And then as of recent times, you've actually got a newer channel in Fastidious Gaming coming back to Raid to cover both of the game titles. So how have you been finding it since you started your journey again in Raid?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I covered Raid for all of 2021. So I covered it for like almost exactly a year. And then I just left content creation for a year and a half or something like that before I found Watcher and kind of got excited again. But I had the opportunity to come back to Raid, and it's pretty cool. I mean, parts of it are super nostalgic and super fun. And then some of the gameplay, like I finally beat Dragon 13 yesterday and getting all that tuning down, that was a blast. And some of it is legitimately awful. Some I've been calling it the preliminary game because it doesn't even feel like the early game. Like the just put your head down, live in campaign, have no life, and then doing all the challenges that are unique. But I'd say it's been a really good mix of like nostalgia, a lot of fun, and a lot of not fun.
Yeah, no, I can definitely familiarize myself with that. At the moment, we're doing the free-to-play series, and just beat Siege 25, by the way. Wanted to leave the screenshot for the start of the video on the free-to-play, which is cool. But yeah, this is going to be a pretty cool video because we're actually going to be speaking about some of the, if Raid came up to our door right now, they're like, YST, Fastidious, your account's been wiped, it's been stolen, the hackers have got them, right? You can now get one of every single epic, or one epic from every single faction, to start up a fresh account. And which kind of ones do you have your eyes on? And this is pretty cool because obviously I'm more current in the game, and then you're maybe gonna have some nostalgic picks that we can see as well. So there's kind of both sides of the spectrum for this one, which is cool.
Yeah, I think I have exclusively nostalgic picks. I didn't feel comfortable like theory crafting and talking about champions I've never used on my old accounts or on takeovers. So except for one exception, well, she was in the game, but I never had her. But every other hero, every other champion I've played with at some point from back in my day. So
yeah, I'm actually looking forward to these picks. But one thing that you did mention to me before we started recording is you actually never got the luxury of playing with the Sylvan Watchers properly, right? So is that something you're looking forward to once you started again?
It is, and actually I kind of gave it away already. There's one shout out to Colred. Colred Plays. Yeah. I made my whole list and I was like, hey, I'm going on YST's channel. We've been playing this collab for 4 years. I don't want to embarrass myself. Can you check my list? And the one faction he had an issue with for me was my Sylvan Watchers pick. So I'm going with Colred's pick. She actually was in the game. I don't know if you even want to start here. She was in the game when I played, but I never had her.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I think they probably are only introduced like Sylvan Watcher, the Sand Devil, things like that were like enhancing gear. That was all, or like whatever, like getting the extra main stats on the gear. That was all like very fresh when I stopped playing. I did play in 2022, but like very casually, just like for fun, like not even every day. And when I did play, probably only like an hour a day, or maybe getting that RSL helper going. So yeah, that's pretty fresh to me. And I'll tell you, probably for a different video, but boy, there's so many things that have changed. It's crazy for how much nostalgia there is and how much I remember. And I'm like, wait, I'm actually kind of good at this. There's so much stuff that I'm like, legitimately don't know what my chat is talking about.
And also, I should have said at the start of the video, I will leave Fastidious channel in the description below where we're going to go and do a part 2 speaking about some champions that's been power crept over time, which should be an interesting one. But without further ado, gonna give us your first champion on your list, and we will start with the Sylvan Watchers actually. We'll go backwards.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's start with the Sylvan Watchers. So I'll tell you, originally I picked Ornn because he was literally the only epic I had from this faction. And I remember him being pretty good. Back then, I had lots of resources on my account, even though it was free to play. So I was able to like build him out and he soloed stuff and I thought that was cool. But Colred was like, don't pick him, definitely pick Ruella. And I do remember her existing in the game. And I didn't remember her kit at all. I'm not going to pretend I did, but I wish I did, and I hope I pull her. I was pretty blown away by actually all her moves. I think the accuracy in the dungeons, it's a lame aura, but especially if you're coming back to the game, like I'll tell you, I've got Frozen Banshee, who I pulled from a mystery shard. I'm very excited. she's got that all battles accuracy aura. That's a little less, but it is all battles. I use her as my lead for everything right now because I'm so stat hungry with all my characters. So I do like that, and that's probably the worst part of her kit. And then from there, triple hitter, we love it. Triple hitter, we love it with huge debuffs and just a huge chance to hit it. Because if I'm not mistaken, like I said, I've never played her. This book's up to a 75% chance, and when it hits, you place all 3 at once. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So you're talking about 25% of 25% of 25% that you're going to miss it. So you're going to get it, well over 90% of the time. All 3 of these booked up. I kind of love that. And then I thought the turn meter fill, kind of huge, giving an increased crit rate. That probably does scale to some extent later in the game, but certainly if I'm coming back to raid and they're saying, take this chick that's going to be amazing in Fire Knight, give you accuracy in all the dungeons you want to clear, and all of a sudden your crit rate requirement's lowered. And by the way, she's 112 base speed. I don't know if people can see that behind me.
There you go.
I was very impressed. So when Colred told me to pick her and make an audible, I was like, for sure. I've never been more wrong, and he's never been more right.
Yeah, no, she is still current with the times 100%. You talk about like Sand Devil's Necropolis for like decreased speed, decreased defense, weaken, and Astranix the Dark Fae in the Doom Tower rotation coming up, and just bosses in general. She's just a really good powerhouse for an epic for sure. I like Ruella. I guess.
Yeah, I don't know how the debuff meta changed, but when I left, decreased defense, weaken, decreased speed, it doesn't really get better than that against a boss, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what it's like nowadays, but
yeah, pretty much that's the fundamentals. Like if you're trying to manipulate the speed and the enhance your damage, you definitely need all of those in the comp. And not many champions do all of that for one kit, which kind of makes it special in the game. But for me, in terms of this one, I've actually got a few written here, but I think I'm going to go with the crowd control beast, and it's going to be Creedon the Blue. Now, Creedon, increased speed, the big variation, and turn meter fill by 15% on a 3-turn cooldown. He's also got an AoE 2-time hitter with a chance of placing a freeze at a, 65% chance on each hit. That's not too bad on a 3-turn cooldown. And then we've also got this triple hit A1 for freeze as well. So obviously when you talk about the Cursed City of Cintranos, or just waves in general, or crowd controlling enemies in arena, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with the new hard variation of the Fire Knight where he can't be turn meter controlled. The control comes from the freeze debuff now for the hard version. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so champions like this are now very relevant, especially with like a triple hit freeze A1. And I just think that he's going to stand the test of time as one of the best epic crowd controllers, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is a pretty crazy kit. The fact that everything, I was just looking on my index too, everything books down to 3-turn. And in my mind, like 3-turn is like the golden, tenet of Raid Shadow Legends. And then coming with the fact that I just checked his passive, that when he lands those freezes, which I'm assuming he's landing a lot when there's wave content and stuff, he's getting more turn meter. So he's just getting faster and faster. This guy looks fantastic. I've never even heard of him, but he looks, actually, I've heard his name floated, but I've never seen him. So
yeah, he looks
completely
like
fresh to me. I'm very...
He looks like something out of the Power Rangers. Like one of the final bosses. He's like, "Hey Rangers, we're coming after you." So, yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
is he pretty new? I gotta also say, some people, there's been pushback. One thing that has not impressed me, taking 3 years off from the game, or 2.5 years, whatever it is. Some of the character models look really dated and not high quality to me. This actually does look really clean and crisp. Is he fairly new?
Yeah, I'd say fairly new in the grand scheme of the game for sure. And there is probably a lot of champions that will give you the wow factor if you've not seen all of them in the index. There's some crazy ones.
Okay.
Just like a quick one, I don't know. Like, she is freaky as heck. Look at this, right? This is like one of my favorite mythicals. Like, look how badass that is.
I love it. I gotta say this. I love this. I'm assuming I'll never get her, but she looks amazing. There's some mythicals I've seen though that the aesthetic is very cool, but like the render and the detailing, I'm just like, I don't know, man. For a character that's gonna cost $1,000, I don't know.
Yeah, to be honest, I've only got one since the mythicals release, and I'm like, no, I really want one. So, all right, let's head into the Shadowkin faction. This is my favorite faction in the game, and which one?
I remember Team Genzin, right?
Oh, look, I'm not sure if you've seen this yet, but we got the Genzin mask now. Look at this.
No, I remember you had the logo. That's amazing. Yeah. I don't know if you remember, I pulled Genzin on my free-to-play way back when. And you spammed me on my DMs on Discord, and you're like, I'm so jealous. You better treat him right because you hadn't gotten him yet. And then I think you did get him like a month later, and you were obviously very excited.
Yeah, nothing's changed. Genzin's still my boy for sure.
He's one of the couple coolest looking champions in the whole game. I'll tell you, I think my pick is cool, but it's pretty basic.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Taragi the Frog.
Okay.
This guy I think is about as hard to carry, like early mid game and clan boss as I could imagine, and he really just helps in a ton of content. Just absorbing all that sweet stuff for the rest of your team. I really like, decrease attack. I find pretty hard to come by, at least early on, and he's got it fairly reliably. I mean, it's not going to be anything like 100% chance, but at least it's there, and at least it's something. I really like the provoke, and when you combine that with the fact that he's throwing that shield on himself, big ally protect, and then you don't have to do any active skills to get out pretty reliable poisons.
Yep.
Amazing for bosses, but also does help a little bit in waves, can be the difference. I think it's not a hot take to say that this guy's really good.
Yeah, he's still to this day regarded as one of the best champions from the Epic Rarity. And when we started the free-to-play series, Hell Hades actually chose him as the promo code because we all was allowed to choose like one to start off with. And he's just like one of the best carries for Clan Boss because like you mentioned, the ally protection, the self-healing, this is so important for a protector. And even when you're speaking about decreased attack, after 33 days or 34 days on the free-to-play, I've only got one decreased attack who I recently brought to 6 stars in Nazana, and she's only a 75%.
And you beat Dragon 25.
Because of it, yeah, pretty much. So it just shows how impactful a debuff is, and especially having it on a default A1, like he's just covering so much roles for a player.
Totally.
For me, with you saying that, there's a few options here, but I'm gonna have to go with my boy Hitatsu, the pan face. Love this guy.
Okay. I actually do remember this guy. I want to say AoE decrease attack, right?
Yes, correct. So
let's go.
Very similar to the Nazana, and also some other epics in this game have this problem. It's only a 75%, 80% with the sniper mastery, but he's bringing increased defense, continuous heals, decrease attack, leech for healing by 18% of the damage inflicted, as well as removing random debuffs from this champion, such as stuns or decreased speed, for example, and a universal defense aura for all battles, which is great as well. So definitely one that's always been on my radar when I start any free-to-play series. One of my favorite kind of PvE champions in the game from the Epics.
I'm glad it's I'm hoping a lot of times you pick champions like Kriordan. I hope I said that right, that I've never heard before, but this one I have. But I did kind of forget how good he was. The only thing I was remembering was that AoE decrease attack. But yeah, the increased defense big version on the 3-turn cooldown with the Canoe Seal. Actually, we're seeing a pattern. You're picking only people with these book down 3-turn cooldowns.
Yeah, it's so valuable. Like even I know I keep going back to my champion roster here, but even when I chose my promo code champion, I went with Allure, and a lot of people was like, oh, why would you choose Allure for a free-to-play series? Simple reason being, we don't get a lot of epic skill terms as a free-to-play player, and she doesn't need books to be effective. Same as Lady Annabelle, doesn't need books for Bomb with the Dreadhorn. Inquisitor Shamail doesn't need books to counter the Head of Torment in the Hydra. So keeping this theme amongst some champions for me always is regarded very highly, because you can invest those books into ones that truly require it to be effective, right?
Yeah, I wish I don't totally regret it, but I think my biggest mistake right now on my new account, I'm on day 9. I wish I talked to you 9 days ago. I had with my download link that I have, you can get Ugo and Tagore as 2 of the 4 heroes. Yes. And I chose to book Ugo before Tagore, and I've had very bad luck on her books. And now I'm just thinking, I've already spent 13 books on her. I still have 3 to go. I could have spent 9 books on Tagore, and he'd be good, rock, and ready to go. So I definitely underestimated how much I have to evaluate these different champions' proclivity for reading. I will
say, you didn't make a bad decision, because even myself, I went with Ugo first as well.
Okay.
And the reason being is AoE decreased defense is one of the most vital debuffs for progression. Like, increased speed is great, revivals is nice, but the kit can still be enabled without the books, whereas Ugo requires them for 100% chance. So I think it's a pretty good direction you took anyway. For where you are.
I mean, Tagore's on deck anyway. We'll get it done. But I just keep feeling like, dang, if I could have one less turn on that revive that I'm waiting, or one less turn, or to get that 3-turn cooldown on the increased speed and that big heal. Yeah, but no, it's definitely a huge consideration. And yeah, you could definitely get away without booking this guy Hitatsu. He seems excellent.
Yeah, really good. All right, so we're heading over into the dwarfs, one of my favorite factions in the game. I'm seeing that by a lot of them nowadays, Shadow King dwarfs. But who have you got your eyes on
Yeah.
here? If you were to start a fresh account again.
Well, definitely dwarves are my definitive favorite faction.
Ooh,
I like
nice.
dwarves. It's my favorite like fantasy race. Full stop. I picked the basic of all basic picks. We're going Geomancer. Your cursor's already there.
Let me just cross that off my list. You know. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me go first.
Oh, of course.
Colred also gave me a list of backups if you took any of mine, but if I go first, you can't take mine. So I like it. I mean, his A3 is crazy. Everything about his passive is like ridiculous with the deflect damage and the way it scales and the way he interacts with his masteries. I'm assuming, of all the champions on my list, not having a good sense of where the meta lies today, power creep, this, that, and the other. I guess we'll touch on it a bit in this video and then on the video on my channel. I'm assuming he's been unpower creepable, right? Unless they nerfed him.
Yeah. No, he stood the test of time. Like, even one of the most champions that everybody is looking for because it's universal value, right? It's not just a niche powerhouse, which is obviously important in a game, but someone that you could take into Doom Tower bosses, the clan boss, the Hydra, you name it. This passive is just one of a kind. Iron Twin's Fortress. So yeah, I definitely agree. He's really good.
One of my worst takes of all time across any content was when Geomancer came out. I was like, oh, he seems pretty good. Like, I don't know. I was like, I don't really know. The passive seems interesting, but it's kind of a weird kid. It's kind of hard to understand. And then once we realized things would be scaling with his masteries and stuff like that, and he'd be getting these humongous hits, I was so wrong. And then I don't know if you remember this, like summer 2021, they put him on like a guarantee. Like, I don't know how many you had to pull, but then we all got him, and I got him. And boy, the most game-changing pull in the history of that account. He couldn't live up to the hype more. Are people still running like multiple Geomancer for stuff too?
I would say for me, I can only speak for myself. I'm not sure how other players do it, but when I was progressing or, entry level into Hydra, you have to build up 18 champions. I did at a point have one for the Iron Twins Fortress because you don't want War Master for that one because he's just triggering down the kind of thresholds for the boss to retaliate. And then I'd also have one for War Master for like other bosses in other areas. So I can see the case uses for two, especially if you've got one in your clan boss team that's speed tuned, and then you might want that's faster for like another higher end boss. So maybe two is like the kind of limit in my opinion.
Okay.
I wouldn't go to like 3, 4, 5s,
Yeah, I had two back in the day, and it's cool to hear that he's as good as ever. He's maybe too strong. Let's be honest.
I think Raid kind of regret it. There's another champion that's going to come up later, which I also think they regret, but it's gone way past the point where they would ever nerf the champion. It'll cause an outroar.
Yeah.
All right, honorable mention. I'm going to say Demiffa just because she unlocks Demon Lord Clan Boss. Very simple. Build her with an heiress, and you've got yourself an unkillable team, right? And that's something that every player wants to progress to, but it's just such a conventional pick on my behalf. But definitely a top one. I'm going to go with Cornelia. I'm sorry, I can't choose you today. I'm gonna go with Morag Bronzelock. I think she's
let me tell you, sorry to interrupt, I'm gonna get her in like 2 days, so that's pretty exciting to hear.
Yeah, I think this is why I want to include it on the list, because I know that a bunch of returning players or just players that got their hands on it through the Plarium Points program was actually a new thing they added, was the Epic Champion. And Morag is the only Epic in the game that provides a 25% strengthen on a 3-turn cooldown on all allies. And there's one in the rare called Denid the Tusk Knight, but just not as good as her. Then there's Morag in the epics, and then a few in the legendary and mythicals. But ally attack, great for Fire Knight, great for the Dark Fae. She actually hits really good for an arena nuker if you need one. And a very cool passive where if she's under strengthened, she counterattacks, which can enable some trials in the Chimera clan boss where you need to counterattack. So I think, a defensive unit, she's not easy to kill, brings in some nice fundamentals to keep you alive. Ally attacks, you name it. I think she's definitely up there for me from the dwarfs.
Yes, seems really, really well-rounded, especially for like, I don't know, is she 100% free to play if you save up the points?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, well, for me personally, I'm day 34 and I've already well exceeded it on the Plarium Points program. Where is it?
Oh, well then I think...
Oh, it's gone now. So yeah, I've already got it. Yeah.
Well, that's really cool to hear. Yeah, that reads super well. I didn't know how unique that A2 was. And you're saying that her multipliers are pretty good. She hits pretty hard.
Yeah, she hits pretty hard. Like, even if you want to carry it into like PV areas such as the Cursed City of Cintranos or Doom Tower Secret Rooms, Tag Team Arena is an option because you need like 3 different teams. she's definitely one to watch out for because she's not easily taken out. And also, I'm not sure if you're aware, we've now got epic empowerment in the game, so you can get an epic up to +4. Yeah.
I am aware, and I was like, wow, the amount that I would have talked about that if I was playing when that came, because that's like the game's all about epics to me.
Yeah.
So that's pretty thrilling.
Yes.
I was pretty bummed when they introduced empowerment that they didn't introduce epics. So to hear that they came around is very cool.
Yeah, and obviously, this is where the kind of power creep damage surge for like these epic champions. If you can get a +4, it's a lot easier to get it than a legendary. You're now getting all these extra stats, and then you get the 6-star blessings and the souls and the relics. And once you start layering these foundations, you get yourself a crazy epic. All right,
totally.
Knights Revenant, who we got?
Okay, I kind of zagged here, so I had a couple options. This is a very. Do people consider this one of the strongest factions? Because when I was reading through these epics, I found like half of them. I was like, these are very good epics.
Yeah, there's some really good ones in here. I think there's a lot of not very good ones as well. So
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. I'm looking at. You can't see my screen right now, but I've got Rector Drath, who comes with my download link. The only other one lit up is Burgoth, so I know a little thing or two about bad ones as well. Yeah, but no. So yes, you're right. Look, there's also just a ton of them actually. Now
there's so many epics there. Yeah.
Yeah, but I ended up going with Doom Priest. Okay. I had originally picked someone else, and then I pivoted. I like the simplicity of Doom Priest. I kind of like the thing you talked about with like not needing books. It totally works. And if you do want to book her, we're talking 5 books.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the lowest. That feels as low as it could be. It's kind of, I love this passive. It's just kind of all about that consistent and constant healing with a single debuff cleanse. And you don't have to do anything. Just have her there, have her not dying, and have her taking a bunch of turns. Also does give big version increase attack. Very simple skill, which does book down to a 3-turn cooldown. So if you get lucky, she's a 1-book unit because you don't need the extra damage on the A1 where you get the increased crit rate and a little damage. I mean, who cares? But yeah, and then also just a nice little, I wouldn't even say nice, a very bizarre aura.
Yeah.
Not those factions, those affinity specific auras. But yeah, that passive is just so strong, so easy to use. Like I think if I could, to follow your rules, get anyone right now, especially considering the fact that I already have Rector.
Yeah.
I just think Doom Priest is just wow.
Yeah, no, she's really good. Always one that I got my eye on as well because, in the Demon Lord clan boss, one thing that's really hard to do if you don't have a block debuffs or a buff extender is staying affinity neutral when you're not taking decreased speed from the spirit affinity or decreased attack from force, and having a way to just cleanse that every single turn in the right speed tune, it's just great. And if you want to take it to other areas, you can go relentless and cleanse multiple debuffs, right? With all these extra turns. So yeah, really
totally. Good. That's a great point about the relentless. Yeah, just a simple, awesome champion.
I know a lot of people is probably gonna be around this mark here, the Rector Drath. Ah, man, I
had Rector Drath, and then I switched to Doom Priest because I thought you would have Rector Drath, and I like Doom Priest.
Yeah, I like Rector Drath. I've just never got around to like relying on Rector Drath, if that makes sense. I've always had the better option. For me, if I could start, oh man, now I'm on the edge of my seat here. I was gonna go with Whisper. Shout out to Saf. I know that he loves Whisper, and so do I from an endgame standpoint. But alluding back to the fact of the video, if I started over again. Now I'm going to stick with my boy, Miscreated Monster. I'm sorry to all the Rector Drath fans out there. I'm sorry. I'm just a big sucker for Miscreated Monster. I love this dude. And
yeah,
I guess what it comes down to is, for me, I always say to newer players or just early accounts, always try and push the Doom Tower as fast as you can or as far as you can, because it's a place in the game which doesn't require your energy resource, but you're getting really good resources along the way, such as shards and chickens and, you name it. But then also you're obviously going through the secret rooms and getting champions, and it's just great for an account development. But an AoE stun, crowd control is so important for the Doom Tower, just wave content in general to progress the floors. We got ally protection, self-heals like we spoke about with Taragi. We got a way to fear enemies when they're attacked under ally protection, and an A1 for further stun and decreased defense. I think that he's just a nice tanky unit that every player that's got him has probably built him and enjoyed him at some point, but yeah, Rector Drath, I agree. Like, there's not a lot of perfect Veil champions in the game from the Epics, and she does that. She brings it for Head of Torment and a great reviver. So either the two could have swayed either way. Yeah.
Miscreated was my other choice. Do really love him. Also, shout out to Whisper. I didn't realize she's becoming that good. I remember she was free from that Amazon
Oh yeah.
thing way back in the day.
Yeah. No, she's turned out I would
Yeah.
say she's up there as, well, I'd say Saf would say number one. I might agree in terms of the best epic boss slayer in the game. What it comes down to is if the boss is under, or a target, under a weaken debuff, she actually ignores full of their defense, ignores everything. So
Oh wow.
this allows you to use a gear set such as Relentless for like the Dark Fae. So you're going, if they're under decreased defense and weaken, grants an extra turn. So boom, it leads into this potential extra turn in Relentless, and she self buffs. And you lead into this one for weaken, extra turn, lead into this, and you can imagine the cycle where you could just take out a boss so quickly.
Totally.
Yeah, so she's stood the test of time, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, she's a slapper.
All right.
You're actually kind of right. Some of the worst heroes imaginable, assuming Crypt Witch and Pitiless One and Burgoth didn't get good, and then some of the best epic heroes as well.
Yeah.
Very hot and cold.
All right, Dark Elves. We got a few less to choose from this one than the Knights Revenant.
Yeah, a couple less. I'm gonna go with my number one girl of all time that I never pulled, and also was released at the same time as Miscreated Monster, right before I started playing in November 2019. That's gonna be Madame Saris.
I'm hiding it for you, when you're speaking about it, I was like, there she is. Let's reveal.
Yeah. I've heard she's fallen off a bit because of some funkiness in Arena, which is disappointing to hear, but that's not going to stop me from picking her. That A3, I know it's a 4-turn cooldown, not the YST patented 3-turn cooldown, but it's the craziest. For me, it was like the craziest move I didn't have the whole time I played, that you could get a full buff strip, AoE, and then place the 2 juiciest debuffs. And as a Void hero, fairly easy to build because she's not so stat hungry. Just get that accuracy and speed up, get a little tankiness. I just felt like I would go up against her all the time in Arena. On my first account ever where I spent some money, I did have her, like back in the 2019 days. And she was so awesome.
Yeah.
So then when I had like my main account, my free to play account, and always wanted her and didn't get her, it always hurt. I think people sleep on the A1 and the A2. There's a lot going on there. The passive is really funky. It's just a well-rounded kit. I always thought of her as fairly easy to build and just really strong.
Yeah, no, I don't know about the falling off part. Like, I will definitely say we don't see her nowhere near as much in like the higher end for sure. I guess like the kind of one exclusion would be in Siege, where we're doing like Clan Wars kind of style. When it's kind of like faction limited, I can see Madame Saris coming in. Progression for sure. I think the one thing that kind of stopped her is polymorph, right? Because she's placing a bunch of debuffs, she's stealing buffs, she's turning herself into a sheep and going bah everywhere. But obviously pinpoint's a thing if you could build her with that. So I don't know, maybe just the game. Obviously we got mythicals now and all this power creep. But
well, she hasn't fallen off. That's just what I was told. Like, that is great news to me. Because also it's just like, she's such a pest. She's gonna like also do the block debuffs. If she steals the buffs, she's gonna place the True Fear. True Fear sucks. I had Mashald. I loved having him because I feel like it just makes people angry.
Yeah.
When you have to do a coin flip over and over. So I just think there's a lot of really cool, unique stuff in here. And she's one of the best, coolest looking designs in the game, I think.
Yeah, and back to the facts again, like we kept mentioning earlier, if you just want to enable this skill, you don't need books to do it. If you just want to open it in Arena, boom, just nuke them.
Yeah.
You can set it up. And the only place I use her at the moment is Amius the Lunar Archon, which is the final boss in the Cursed City, because he does like a mirroring effect where he converts the positive effects into negative, and then she'll come through, strip it off, and then put the negative back on again. So it's a really handy skill for me in the end game anyway.
Sweet.
Who did I have? I was kind of just running away from the Dark Elves. I don't want to be here. I guess a few of them's free, so I'm not going to mention them. I would have said Dark Hail and Rian the Conjurer, but they're both Doom Tower epics. Man, who would I go with here? I'm going to stick with... I'm going to go Dirindil. I would usually say Lua, but I think she's kind of fallen off a bit. I think being able to ignore 50% of a target's defense with a perfect veil when the attacker's critical, kind of hiding the champion on a 4-turn cooldown, nice nuke ability. We've also got an AoE which ignores 15% of defense and a 10 meter fill on each critical hit. So depending on how many you're critting, that's pretty nice. And then we've got an A1 freeze. So, in those finite hard 10 teams, maybe you're doing stage 6 or something. You've got a way to clear through the waves to kind of speed up your runs. We've got a nice damage single target and some freeze for further manipulation. So I think overall that Dirindil's a very good one to watch out for. And people do. You can see here, it's pretty rated highly here. across the board.
Yeah, he's totally new to me, but if he's hitting hard on top of ignoring all that defense, like if the multipliers are strong, this seems like a heck of a champion.
Yeah, he's a bit. Actually, I'm kind of guilty of not using him enough. I've got like 6-star soul +4. I've just maybe one day we'll get a video out for that, dude.
Okay.
All right,
Awesome.
we got some spicy ones in here. I'm looking forward to your pick from this one, actually.
Yeah, I thought my pick was obvious, and then Colred told me it was kind of out of left field. So I hope it's not too crazy. I'm going Vogoth.
Nice, nice.
I used to love using Vogoth. Increasing the duration of the debuffs on the A1, super fun. Big time AoE provoke on the YST famous 3-turn cooldown, all while placing the decrease attack AoE, which as we discussed is tough to do. He's an HP based guy with, I don't know if things have changed much, but the 19k plus feels really high for an epic.
Yeah.
Which I really like. And then just with that passive, whenever he's attacked, he's gonna heal all allies by that damage. I mean, that saved me in so much stuff, especially in things like Doom Tower and stuff like that back in the day. So I was just always a huge fan of him. And then he's got a second passive, which is so fun, that he's putting out the leech, so you can get even more healing. I always loved Vogoth. He was like a mainstay on my account back in the day. The only knock against him is he really looks like a Knight Revenant to me, not an undead horde.
I can see it, yeah. He's a kind of a freaky dude. Now, he has, obviously, people still really do like him. I personally have 2 built when Bommel the Dreadhorn, obviously, it's kind of changed. Now it's more of a boss that many different champions can face. But back then, the strategy was Geomancer onto the boss, use Vogoth's passive to kind of heal everyone and kind of just get through it. So yeah, he's a really strong one still. For me, man, Seeker.
That was my other choice.
It's yeah, I'm going to go with Seeker. There was another one I wanted to mention. I'll probably just honorable mention it, but Seeker is just the ability for Demon Lord Clan Boss, allowing you to get to those 2-to-1 ratio speed tunes, and all comes down to that extra turn with the turn meter fills and the increased attack, and you can build him in a toxic set for further damage if you want to. And just one of the best turn meter manipulators from the epic rarity in the game, and has a really nice aura as well for arena, if you do need that for defense. But the other one I was going to mention, just a kind of newbie, was Ostrox Boneglaive. I feel like
do not know him.
He's kind of, for me anyway, the better version of Umbral Enchantress, who I'm pretty sure you would remember the voice.
You might even be hearing about her.
Oh, is it? All right, this will be a cool back and forth then. So for me, I feel like Ostrox has surpassed her in the current day, and it's because with Umbral Enchantress, her kind of provoke debuff locks her out of her active skills for 5 turns, right? And there's no way to take that off. And then once you kind of remove that from the equation, they've got the exact same ability on the block buffs because it's a 3-turn duration on all the enemies for Hydra. But then he comes in with a debuff removal and an increased accuracy to reach the stats that you need. We've got a way of transferring random debuffs and a way to kind of transfer them back with the passive as well, with a nice aura. I just think he's a really good block buffs champion, as people are starting to rate here for Hydra boss.
He seems extremely strong.
Yeah, he's kind of basic. He's very basic, but he fills a role for players because back to the Hydra situation, you need 3 teams, and block buffs is the main component for that boss. And let's just say you're using Ugo for 1, and you don't have some of the legendaries from, like, the higher rarities. Someone like an Ostrox can really fit in like a curse set and put in some work for sure.
Totally, and kind of huge that he's void affinity, so it just gives you some nice peace of mind. Well, I guess that is the perfect transition. For Demon Stuff. Yeah, I did pick Umbral Enchantress. I always felt, not that people thought she was bad, everyone thought she was good, but I always thought people still should have thought she was more gooder. Like, I just was always such a huge fan with the block buffs, huge, with the huge provoke and the unkillable. I just felt like everything lasts forever with her. She's really just, it's I guess fairly simple what she does, but it's just very good. You're right about the lockout, the 5-turn lockout, but always a huge fan. I mean, a lot of the heroes a lot of the champions we talked about today are HP based or defense based, which are just like, I think very, new account friendly, and she fits that list. I always found she hit kind of hard as well. So I was a big fan of this lady.
Yeah, no, I think Raid, if anyone's out there watching, one of the art guys from the team or something, let's give some love to Umberland Enchantress and bring her into the current day. And like you mentioned,
Please.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the champion apart from the active skills thing. I don't like that because block buff's still very effective, right? What I would do to her to kind of keep still with an epic theme is remove the block active skills from this pot here. Take it down to a 4-turn cooldown, so it's not a 3-turn, you still have to cycle it on like a 4-to-3 ratio, and that way she becomes more current for Hydra to lock out Head of Decay without being locked out, because in Arena you could technically build her in Stone Skin to kind of stop that from happening in the first place for like one instance, if you just want to crowd control the enemies. But apart from those opening phases, like it's very hard to justify using this in a Hydra team, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think part of this also comes down to Hydra was obviously out still when I played, but it was when I was playing more casually. I chipped away at the Mithrala or whatever over a long period of time before I finally got her. So it's just not something that's so front of my mind. And I just remember when I did have Umbral on earlier accounts, how huge she is for progressing just by locking out the other team, and how nasty she used to be in Arena as well.
Yeah, and I remember.
But I guess that does make sense. Yeah, she was a nightmare. I think at some point she was like free, but it was like a spending thing. So like okay. If you summoned enough, you got her. I can't remember how. Maybe she was rewarded. So I felt like half of the game had her and I didn't. And I just remember being punished constantly. It felt like so.
Yeah, she's a crazy lockout.
Maybe. Yeah, and I also kind of feel like, I don't know if this has really changed, but I feel like she can be like low and slow, doesn't matter, right? Like, because you don't need her taking a bunch of turns. You just want to leave that unkillable on as long as possible. Just get those provokes out, and once they're out, kind of the other team's SOL.
Yeah.
And you are spot on though. This design needs a little crispness to it. She looks dated.
Yeah.
For sure.
For me, I'm kind of in a kind of fence here because I did choose Allura as my promo code champion, but if there was a Void Epic that I could have chose, one person I would have taken over Allura is Skimfoss. And I think he's still one of the best.
Fusion.
Was it? Wait, he was a part of the fusion, wasn't he? He's even.
Dude, it was Mordecai, Skimfos. That was the craziest fusion. They were all good.
You got a better mind than me. I can't remember that, but wow, this is one of the most underrated champions in the game, in my opinion. And what it comes down to is transfers all debuffs from this champion to a target enemy, which is nice, but then steals 100% of the target's turn meter if this attack is critical on a 3-turn cooldown. And because you're stealing, you're effectively putting this down to a 2-turn if you steal it all. And if you build him in Relentless, you're just infinitely stealing this turn meter, and it's just crazy for stuff like Dark Fate. But he also brings in AoE decrease attack at 100% chance, by the way, as a Void Affinity champion. We got a decreased speed on the A1 to slow down those bosses, and then some nice passes for like healing and stuff. And overall, I think he's one of the best turn meter manipulators from the EPICS in the game entirely. Really good.
Oh, wow, yeah, this is a champion I never thought was bad, but I never thought of him as particularly good. But the way you sold that, I'm eating it all up. It is effectively a 2-turn cooldown if you target the right enemy, and if they've got full turn meter. Pretty nuts. And he hits pretty hard, right?
Yeah, he hits, because the way that I used to use him in Dark Fate, I'm not sure, are you familiar with that boss? Did you play that one?
I'm sure I played it. It was out. I played a decent amount of Doom Tower.
Yeah, so obviously she drops down
certainly not to the extent you did.
Yeah, she drops down the mirrored clones, which is kind of like the mirror of your champions on her team, in a sense. And then I would kind of just like use the A2 opening phase to kind of bruise them, and then use like an Allure or someone to wipe out the rest. So yeah, he does hit relatively hard with the A2. All right. Orcs. Who we got here? This one's kind of very obvious. I'm just interested to see if you change.
Yeah, well, it is obvious, and I didn't want to go that obvious, but I've never pulled her, so I had to pick her because she was taunted me forever, and it's just Seer.
Yeah.
A very cool thing about Raid Shadow Legends, which especially if you guys are like big raid heads or whatever, and maybe you don't play other games, you don't realize. You probably do realize it's very cool that you beat a stage, but then you have to rebeat it to perfectly refine and speed tune it. And there's just no one, at least when I played, there was literally no one, including legendaries, at the level of Seer, doing her crazy stuff where she's removing all the buffs from the allies and enemies and scaling off of that with that big AoE. I always thought of it as a melt. Like it was like wind coming down and everyone melts away.
It's like an ice cream, right? It's like bye-bye.
yeah, exactly. That ice cream is perfect. Yeah. And I just never had it ever, and everyone had it. And the amount of times, even when I was a baby streamer, the 4 people in the chat were like, just use Seer. And I was like, I don't have Seer. So I
Yeah.
don't think I have to say too much more. I feel like the rest of her kit's like kind of fine. She puts out some debuffs and increased crit rate, so buffs on her A2, which is nice and synergizes with the A3.
Yeah.
The chance for the extra turn, you can cycle a little faster for longer stuff, but just get that tune down, get that reset hero with your Renegade or your Kaimar or anybody new in the game, and just have the ultimate cheat code that I never got my hands on.
I was actually in the same boat for a very long time. I'm not sure if you remember, but I was like, I need a damn seer. And the ways that I was beating the Doom Tower back then was like Corina Manaya for like 15 minutes of just going at it on each stage. It was brutal. And now Seer, she just comes through and just one-shots every wave of reset champs. It's crazy. Yeah, so yeah, she's massive.
She's probably another champion the developers might regret, I would say.
Yeah, she's probably, I think that, yeah, there's probably 3 epics in total, and she's definitely one of those ones. I guess I think the other one we have to go to is probably Tagore, right? Because we're both built him, we're both going to value him, and he was actually a champion that went under the radar, and I think Ash was the first one that fully advocated it for me. He mentioned it a lot, and I actually went, because obviously I do like loads of the ratings on hellhades.com, the champion guides. So I actually turned this guy up a notch because I was like, okay, he was a bit undervalued here, and he's pretty good. So what it comes down to is the 3-turn cooldown on the increased speed with a heal, which is strong. He's also got an AoE revival with a shield and 30% HP. And you might be thinking, oh, why 30% HP? It's pretty crappy. Well, basically, decrease the damage received by allies with 50% HP or less. So he's giving you a nice shield, damage reduction with the passive, and he's also got an A1 to provide increased defense on those lowest current HP targets. And I think all in all, a very good one that you can't go wrong with in the game, for sure.
Totally. And I've just got to say, as like a very early game player, that all battles 25% HP aura. I know it's not much, but it is the difference. Like him or Frozen Banshee are my leads for everything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I love him. I didn't know who he was. So like when Plarium pitched me my download link and originally they gave me 2, it was just Rector Drath and Ugo. And I was like, I've seen the other links out there. That's not cutting it. I need some more juice. I need some more meat on that bone. And they added Tagore and Corrado. And I was like, Corrado, cool. Now people get a free legendary. Who's this Tagore guy? But then you get him at level 10. So he was the first guy I started using. I couldn't believe how good I thought he was. He also kind of hits.
Yeah, he can. He can like kind of wax out with his A2. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think you'd have to work up to that build. But if you had good gear, I mean, that A2 kind of hits. Like, it always surprises me because the gear I have on him is comedy. Like it's like 3-star shield starter shield gear, or maybe I just took that off. But I'm very impressed by him. Really like him. Like I said, I'm probably gonna have a video on my channel being like my biggest mistake. I love Ugo. That's why I picked her. She was like a top 3 favorite hero that I had, favorite champion. But I still regret going her first over Tagore. And Tagore will be 6-star before her on my account.
Yeah, he's a massive carry. Like this, I don't think I could have beat because of the way that I always like to do the free-to-play series is beating the Doom Tower rotation every single time from the jump in like the first 30 days. And I could not have done this without Tagore. Like he's just crazy the amount of support that he brings.
While I have you on camera, can I bother you like in next rotation to if you think I can get it done?
Oh yeah, you'll be able to get it done.
That's crazy.
100%. Yeah.
Really? Okay. I am spending a little because all you guys are doing free to play, and I was like, I can't do exactly that. So I'm doing like balling on a budget, like low spend.
As a bit of a mid segue into the video here, guys, do you just want to let us know what your series you're doing exactly is? Because I joined your stream yesterday, but I didn't get a proper grasp on what you was doing.
Yeah, basically, I mean, I'm not going to post it. Like, so back in the day, I started my raid channel, I think almost like within a month of you. We started at the same time. I was just doing like a daily free-to-play series, and then obviously I'd make guides as I saw fit. But it really was like, if you want to see Fasty does free-to-play, this is my channel. And it was like a very serious free-to-play thing. For this one, it's going to be a lot more like what my other content has become now, which is like very guide-focused, tips-focused. But I do want some kind of daily theme to my account when I stream. So it's like I've set myself a $75 a month budget, like full stop. I cannot spend more, but I also can't spend less. I've locked myself into that. So I want to see maybe some of the people will include their continue their free-to-play challenge accounts, and we can kind of compare how big a difference does it make? How much can I get away with like prudent spending if you can prudently spend in a gacha game? But I think it'll be pretty fun. And And yeah, I would love to beat the Doom Tower fast. So I'm
Yeah,
definitely going to binge some of
it's
your
a cool
videos.
middle ground the way you've done that series actually, because it's not like well, it's a spender, but it's not whale territory, and then it's also not free to play.
Exactly.
It's just kind of what can you do with just a certain amount. But,
Yeah, I asked a lot of content creators. I asked a lot of viewers, like, what do you think the money is? And I heard huge, crazy variance in numbers. And basically, I settled. A lot of people feel like if it's less than $50, you're not really spending, which is obviously crazy, but that is how a lot of people feel.
Really, I think that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree, but that was a sentiment I heard a lot. Like you should be at least 50. And then a lot of people, I mean, everyone, there's clearly a point where you're spending so much, it's completely unrelatable content. So that's how I ended up at the 75 number. And we'll see how it goes.
Wicked. All right, let's head back into here. We're in the Skinwalkers. Which epic did you have in mind for this one?
For the Skinwalkers, I went with Fane. I hope
classic.
she hasn't fallen off.
No, she hasn't.
But I loved Fane.
Yeah.
I don't remember what fusion she was for, but she was a fusion epic back in my day.
Mm-hmm.
And dang, she's just so good. I mean, what more do you need? She's got that double hitter with the chance to steal the turn meter. It's okay. It's an A1. What do you need? The A2 is pretty bonkers. I love that you're just getting basically the guarantee, aside from the random miss or the affinity issue, on a 3-turn cooldown, double poison with the big version decrease attack, which, as we discussed, is kind of the bane of both of our existences.
Yeah.
And then that A3, now you're getting the other 2 debuffs. So she's kind of doing the Ruella thing in a different way, different kind of hero, but you're getting those really. I guess Ruella had the decreased speed, not the decreased accuracy, but you're getting 3 of the 4 debuffs I'm always looking for, and big versions at that of everything. Really like it. If somehow this A3 could be on a 3-turn cooldown, not an A4, she'd be such a gem. But even that said, she kind of slaps. That base attack is through the roof. Just a really, I used her all the time in Clan Boss back in the day and just loved her. And I found she's good enough in other places too, especially early on.
Yeah, I wish I could pull on the free-to-play. It's crazy. Like the amount of stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is? Like the issue with like, especially on my account right now, is it's so hard to fit all of these roles into 5 champions. It's like, oh, who do we get rid of here? Because if we keep removing champs, we've got no damage left, you know? And she just brings in so much for one champ.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm a massive fan of these ones for Demon Lord. All right, if I was to choose another one here, who would you guess I would choose?
That's a great question. This faction I struggled with. I didn't find them to be the strongest. And actually, I think except for these voids, I know all of them. Basher I knew, but I didn't know the other 3 voids. And I don't know Balf or Bovos.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first started playing, like 2019, people were hot on Steel Skull. I always kind of liked him.
Poor Steel Skull.
And then Horfreeze is like okay for faction wars, but I don't know. To me, Fane jumped off the page. I don't know who I'm gonna guess you're gonna pick one of these void people I've never heard of.
No, I'm going with both the Rancid. I've said it, mentioned it a few times.
Also never heard of.
He's a newbie. He's pretty new, and I think he's just at a point where people are starting to understand his value. Because I am speaking about it in every video. Like both the Rancid, please guys understand it. So
did you get him on your free to play? Is that why?
I got him on the free to play, and that kind of made me look into it a bit more than I usually would. And I was like, damn, this dude is up there for sure. So what it comes down to is removes 2 random debuffs from all allies, and in Clan Boss, for speed tune in particular, it's a great way to remove the decreased speed, so you don't fall out of your speed tune, or the stun phase, so that when the Clan Boss stuns you. He's also got the increased accuracy if you're struggling to reach the stats for stuff like Ultra Nightmare. But then he leads it with this A2 with a buff extension as well, very similar to Godseeker Aniri, Sandlash Survivors, Anchorites, and a decreased accuracy if you need it. We've got heal reduction for stuff like Fire Knight as well, or Never Spider, as well as decreasing the damage all allies receive from poisons by 50% for stuff like Dragon. He's a bit of a jack of all trades. You can use him in a lot of places, but for me, he stands out as a very underrated Clan Boss champion for me. Yeah.
I totally see that, and I gotta say, especially like early mid game, I mean, he's making your life so much easier. I've never heard of this guy, but I think I'm buying all the hype. Also, very cool. Is he a skunk? He's a skunk hero.
He is,
skunk
yeah.
Champion. That's really fun. But yeah, it's always hard to. It always was hard for me to find heroes you want with the extending the ally buffs, which is fantastic. Decreasing the accuracy. I'm assuming almost everyone's gonna have like not building any resistance on their champions early on, so that helps in a big way. Increasing accuracy, I think is back in the day I thought was the most underrated buff. So I'm thinking on these fresh accounts, it's got to be even better.
Yeah,
crazy, and he's HP based. Yeah, I would love to get this guy. I'm gonna keep an eye out for him.
Good. All right, we're going down to how many factions we got left here? Oh, we still got 6 more. We've been enjoying this video so much, it's going to like an hour. But you know what, guys? It makes up for the past 3 years, right? Here we go.
Yeah, 4 years in the making, 3 years in the making.
Yeah, we gotta keep it going. All right, Lizardman, enlighten us.
Okay, I have to do something here. So I made my pick. Cole Red's made another suggestion.
Okay.
Who was also another champion I had back then. I was like, oh yeah, I'll go with that. I changed my mind. I'm going back to my first pick, which is Aox.
Aox. Oh, I didn't see that one coming. Okay.
Yeah. So I had Aox as one of my first champions ever on like my main account, which was like my longest like 2-year free to play account. I know he's not the biggest hype in the world, but I've just always loved him.
Yeah.
Getting that big version decrease attack on the 3-turn cooldown on everyone. I know, or whatchamacallit. Like I know to some people, again, it might seem easy to get, but as we've talked about, I don't think it is. And the fact that it's a place, I love a place. I've always been so high on a places, so you can't weak it. So he's affinity proof, and it's huge. And I used him everywhere. He'd be in my wave clearing stuff. He was huge for me in Clan Boss, even in the Doom Tower too. And you can take advantage of that accuracy aura. He can get poisons out. It's a unique kind of kit, but I really like it. And he does have a way to extend the duration of debuffs, right? So he's getting hit by those AoEs in Clan Boss. I always felt he was a very underrated option and someone I leaned heavily into, and he carried me all the way up to the point when I got that unkillable block damage team going. I just think he's phenomenal. He's really cool. I thought he was slept on back in the day. I was guessing he was probably slept on now. He even has a little healing that he can get going with that A2. Yeah. I really like him.
Yeah, I really like Aox. I've not used him in a long time. I'm really surprised he didn't get... I really thought he was going to... Well, the one that I'm going to go for anyway is Venom Mage. I really thought he was going to snipe that out. Okay. Is that who Cole Red said?
Who Cole Red told me to switch to, and I did, and then just now I changed my mind and went back.
I will say that they're probably top 2. Arguably Jareg as well could be in the conversation, for sure. But
I think Skatix I used to use a lot back in the day because I find cleansing hard.
Yeah.
But... yeah, Venom Mage is crazy. Tell us about it.
It's very similar to the Geomancer, actually, for me, and it's because you're getting a 15% damage reduction by simply having heal reduction on the boss. And I feel like, obviously, heal reduction is not something we want in Demon Lord Clan Boss. However, the damage reduction element gives it a value. But then also in Amius the Lunar Archon, she's just risen in value because heal reduction is one of the most vital debuffs you need for the base form not to heal, and she brings that. But she also applies the heal reduction for like Never Spider, whatever. But then 2 poisons, decrease defense, decrease attack, and poison detonation. And all in all, I think you can't go wrong. And it's probably one of my most wanted epics this series, 100%.
Yeah, I think she's really cool, and I love that poison activation is on the A1 too, so you can like rely on it and try it whenever you feel like you need it. I don't know who the Archon is though. I'll be honest. I don't. What is that from the Cursed City or something?
Yeah, he's basically the only way to describe it in a simple format is he's a mythical boss, so he switches forms. With each form has a different set of skills, and yeah, one is like a healing one, and it kind of substitutes your buffs into debuffs, and it's kind of like a converting one. And the other one just goes crazy and nukes. You'll find out soon enough and be like, damn, YST, Amius.
I'm scared. I'm scared.
All right, wait, whoa. I just went full screen on my game there. Are we in Ogrins? Yeah, we're in Ogrins.
We're in the Ogren tribe, yeah. I think, so I've heard there's a lot of good new options here, but I don't know them, so I didn't pick them.
Yeah.
I'll give a shout out to Uragrim, who is always really hype when I play, but I heard he was nerfed. And shout out to Ugo, who's my little queen, but I think I have to go Maneater.
Oh, he's gone with the OG, let's go.
Obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Right above my head, we got Maneater. I mean, this is the crazy move, right? Getting the unkillable and the block debuffs, lasting for 2 turns, enabling all the funkiness. He's just crazy. I also think, because I don't remember what account, I played a couple different accounts back in my day, but I had him early on 1, and that A2 is slept on. I mean, he's a void hero, and he's going to fully deplete the target's turn meter, and then he's filling his turn meter by the amount they lose. It's kind of the same thing as like what Skimfos does. It's basically a steal. Yeah. Because they go down, he goes up by equal amounts. Just a really good guy, and then he's got decreased attack on top of all of it. If he can land a crit, and it can land on everyone, spread to everyone. So though he is, like, at least when I played, you tell me if things have changed. I know Demytha's kind of hype and stuff like that, but he was Clan Boss King. Combine that with the fact that especially you're saying, who can I start with? I want to get off on the right foot. Wise T Festivities, take an epic from each faction. He's going to help in the most important thing to start clan boss. And then you're going to build him up, and you're going to probably end up using him in many, many places.
Yeah, no, Manita's still like he's still up there, 100% in the clan boss conversation.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I guess there's just with the game's kind of development, there is like loads of different tunes. Like I'm not sure if you heard of Vault Keeper Wixwell. One of the so he's kind of like enabling some crazy shield stuff to go crazy turns, and you know the Demythas of the world. Like even on my main account now, I don't even have a speed tune team, and I'm doing like 400 million. It's like the whole landscape of the game has changed. Yeah, for clan boss. But yeah, overall, in the grand scheme of things, starting again, Manita's always on people's radars for all the things you mentioned. Ugo, I think is kind of, we both agree, so I'm not going to go with her for this one. I'm going to switch it up a little bit.
I hope you're saying someone who I don't know, but it's who Colred told me, and I don't know why he's so good, so I'm hoping that's who you say.
Okay, I'm going to Skull Crusher Ugo, guys, honorable mentions, we know that already. I'm not going to mention it. Siege Hulk, we all know I got love for it. I'm going to go with Old Gruckus.
Okay, I don't know who this is.
Okay.
This is not who I was thinking.
So this is a champion that I came across very recently, and it came down to filtering out a specific selection of debuffs. I believe it was decreased speed, decreased attack, heal reduction, and leech. And I was like, there is no way there's a champion out there with everything, right? Until this dude's face popped up. He's like the guy from Beetlejuice with the tiny face, right?
His gorgeous face.
Yeah, and his bell, but... Yes, so what it comes down to is an A1 leech, which is nice, on a triple hitter for Fire Knight. We've got decreased attack and heal reduction in the same ability on a 3-turn cooldown, once again for Fire Knight or Never Spider or Amius. And then we got a decreased speed and a 10 meter drop on a 3-turn cooldown.
Ooh, yeah.
With a 24% speed aura in dungeons. And alluding back to the Fire Knight, it's one of the hardest places for players to progress in the dungeons. And he's just bringing so many fundamentals. And I've actually got him in my Fire Knight Hard 10 team on my main account in replacement of like all the top tier legendaries as a choice. So yeah, I think he's a really good one for players out there, and doesn't take a crazy amount of books, you know, like 3 here, 4 here. There's definitely a lot worse in the game in terms of book values.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. I've literally never heard of this guy, but that all checks out. He's kind of got it all going on. He kind of seems designed for Fire Knight, but then you can see how it can translate to a lot of other general content, wave-based content. I just want to quickly say I was told Skrank is the man. I don't know who he is, so I was kind of hoping you'd pick him. Why? Like I was told, people have mentioned him multiple times on stream, and then Colred was like, "He's the man."
He is. Colred is right. Cool. Do you know what it is? Like, I guess I've made loads of videos speaking about Skrank. He is. The issue with this game, right, is in the epic rarity, there is not a lot of AoE burners, right? So we've got Mordecai, we've got Ultimate Gallic, who's a bit clunky. He kind of needs increased attack to set him up.
Oh, yeah. Another Amazon hero.
Yeah, we've got Skrank, and obviously being Void Affinity huge, and then there's like a Koth to Sid from the Doom Tower, someone like that. But without this effect, it's very hard to progress in Hydra Boss, in the Spiders dungeon, and you name it. You know, it's such a vital debuff to have. And he can smack as well. He does crazy damage, increased attack on himself, and weakens on an A1, and scaling with damage, with the passive, with the Pyromania. He's definitely up there for sure. But for me, I wanted to give some love to Gruckus today. Yeah, change it up a bit. It's Skrank.
I get it, right? It's like hard to do AoE HP burn. He seems to be doing it shockingly reliably with a really well-rounded kit. So maybe one year I'll get that guy.
Yeah, no, he's if you pull him, awesome. he's up there as definitely one of the best epics in the game. Okay, right. We're down to the final 4 Fastidious. Here we go. Let's make it spicy.
The marathon continues. Okay, I'm going Farrakhan the Fat. I've liked this guy since he was introduced. This was a heck of a patch. I wish I could remember all the heroes.
Do you like him for him, or do you like him for this belly button? Look at that.
It's that sweet. It's that body, baby. He's got all the right curves, my man. No, I remember breaking him. It had to be when we were making content, because I remember breaking him down in a video. I think it was the same patch or within a patch of like Ugo and Deacon Armstrong and all these crazy things, and it was super exciting. And I found ally tech at that point in the game impossible to get. So the fact that he's giving that to you, lowering all your gear requirements by getting increased crit rate and increased crit damage on everybody. He's just so spicy. And then he's giving you what are the 2 things you probably want on the clan boss for damage you can rely on that is scaling off the clan boss, not you. He's giving the HP burn and the 2 poison buffs together. I actually, way back then, I had a team right when he came out of Farrakhan the Fat and Fane. I know it was a little overlap, but
Yeah.
it was still really fun. I was kind of double dipping on the poisons and the decreased defense. And by the way, he's got the decreased defense. Not not 100% chance, but he's got that on the A1. Just such a cool guy, such a cool kit. I don't know how unique it is now, but back in the day, I thought it was insanely unique. And yeah, he's drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah, I think he's still current, 100%. Like, if I was to speak about best epic, well, honestly, even in terms of legendaries, right? He might be up there easily top 2 because in terms of mythicals, everyone gets Lady Mikage at some point through the fusion, which obviously is a top tier one. But for what he brings, like you mentioned, burns, poisons, decreased defense, he's one of a kind. And I would definitely choose him over many legendaries, in my opinion. Man.
Such a cool design.
Kind of stuck here. Who do I choose here? Actually, no, I'm not stuck here. Hoskarul. Here we go. So Hoskarul was actually one of few actually epic fusions we had. We haven't got one in a long time, to be honest. And he comes with a way of removing stun debuffs, increased defense, and increased resistance. He's got a very high chance to place a stun on all enemies, back to the crowd control, like I mentioned with Miscreated Monster, and some Terminator drop. We got an A1 for further stun and then immune to stun. So he's kind of just like a stun specialist, increasing your resistance, increasing your defense, and just a hard carry. And he can smack pretty hard. People like this dude.
Yeah, and very, very light reader. If you want to book him, I just counted only 9 books. And then it sounds like when I think stun and crowd control and tankiness, I think faction wars. And then he's got the 30% faction defense. Yeah. I think I actually did this guy's fusion, but it was towards the end, and I never even ended up using him. But seems very, very strong.
Yeah, he's powerful. All right, we're down.
When you say he's a fusion, you're saying it was a fusion for him, not like
no, it was a dedicated Hoskarul fusion. Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet. They should do that more.
I keep saying it. Some people kind of don't want it. Some people just want the legendaries. But I think when you've got a fusion every single month, it's sometimes nice to have like a kind of a half fusion, an easy one.
Totally.
Give the community a easy to attain epic, and
Well, that, and also I remember because I never missed a fusion, but I never had books for any of those guys. So I just was like, I get these guys, and then I can't even really try them at their full potential unless they were Herndig or Brogni or like the really cream of the crop guys that like ran my account. So
yeah,
epics would be cool.
All right. This one beats the Knights Revenant. You got a whole library here. Crazy. Yeah. This when I looked through this, I was like, oh, so this is the best faction. But I do have to say, it also has my favorite hero, so it wasn't very hard to pick Deacon Armstrong. Ooh, this is the nice. Okay.
Deacon Armstrong, there's a video somewhere deep on my other YouTube channel. If you want to check it out, just Fastidious, not the Fastidious Gaming. When I pulled Deacon Armstrong, and I lost my damn mind, and he lived up to all the hype I gave him because I just think it's the simplicity and the beauty of the kit. This is a lot of these I've been going to the tooltips. I could probably tell you this from memory, that you got the leech on the A1, that you get the decreased defense, that you do the turn meter fill with the turn meter drop to enemies and the extra turn. So everything's on a 2-turn cooldown with the all battle speed aura. I mean, this guy, I couldn't have used him more on my account. I found a way to use him in everything, even when I didn't have to, just because I wanted to. So I had like a Deacon Armstrong Mashald based clan boss team in the
crazy.
end.
Some crazy Temia stuff going on there.
Yeah, I actually don't know if I ever even went with block damage or unkillable. I can't remember for that main account, but so fun, just so good. I also got to say, much love to Ugo, but 35% on the A1 to land a leech. And as someone that just finished max booking that skill because this game is torturing me, all it does is add damage. Compare that to frickin' Deacon over here, right affinity against the Fire Knight. So even though he's not like a Fire Knight hero, he's got the double hitter and he cycles everything so fast. He makes your whole team a Fire Knight hero. If there's double hitters, 50% per hit on those leeches. Those leeches are going up, baby. Yeah. One of them is going to go up and every other turn. And then just combine that with the fact that I love that extra turn mechanic. That's why I almost picked Seeker. Just dropping everything, getting the extra turn, getting those cooldowns to drop. I love this guy. He's really like full stop my favorite champion in the whole game.
Yeah, he's definitely. You're kind of taking me back today, man. I think like nowadays the whole landscape is if it's not a legendary, you don't get crazy excited. But there was times like remember when we first pulled a Tyrell or something and we're screaming like Siffy popped out. It's crazy, man.
I remember I pulled an Armina and lost my mind. I was like, oh, stuns and decreased defense or whatever. I think that's what she does. But yeah, for me, because I played Raid for like 3.5 years, 2.5 years was hard free to play, only free to play.
Yeah.
So I was always just operating on the assumption I would never get legendaries, and if I did, I wouldn't have the books for them. So like it was epics that got me going. And yeah, Deacon was probably the most excited I ever was. I also did pull Trunda at one point, so that was pretty stoked for that too. But
I can imagine.
Yeah, I'd say Deacon was my favorite epic. Mashal was my favorite legendary. Full stop.
There's a good few other ones in here. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Who would I say the most? It's a very tough one. I think a lot of people would expect.
I know
me
who
to
my
say,
number 2.
Would you have said Godseeker and Ares your second?
That would have been my second for sure.
Let's do this one as a joint one. So this is kind of like our honorable mention. You know, the crazy revivals, great for Sun Devil. We got buff extension heals. We all know about Godseeker. I think for me, in nowadays, and I actually got the luxury of pulling him on the free-to-play, Inquisitor Shamail. And the reason being is the Head of Torment is so hard to counter in the Hydra boss or any players out there without Perfect Veil because you need it. But he's coming through with this passive to instantly cleanse those from your targets and also filling your leader's turn meter by 15%. And this allows you to completely just forget the Torment is there. And if anything, it's helping you having Torment there because you're boosting your turn meter of your allies. He hits very hard with this A2 as well, getting up to almost true damage. And a nice A1 to decrease the duration of buffs. I think he's a very simple...
He must be amazing in the event dungeon.
Yep, top tier, 5 out of 5, because he's cleansing the...
Dang.
Actually, I think I could show you kind of briefly how it does it here.
Because that's where I'm stuck. It's crazy. I got to 10 so fast, and I was so happy. And then 11, I'm just toast. And it's because the fears just lock me out.
I don't really want to...
This is your free-to-play account?
Yeah. I don't want to kill them. I'm trying to make the boss actually take a turn so you could see the fears. Take a turn. Take a turn. So right here, you go boom, true fear, take it all off. You know, it's like
it's amazing he doesn't even have to take a turn. It's just like instant activation.
Yeah,
that's
and it's
so cool.
24/7 as well. No cooldowns, nothing. Oh man, I guess we're gonna
amazing.
I think we have to do this run now just so I don't waste.
I don't know if you remember when he first was added, there was like a pull 25 or 50 void shards and you were guaranteed him. So like everyone got him, but I didn't. So he was like such a pest in arena too. And I remember having to deal with him. And then also because I was a Mashald user and abuser, I had to avoid him like the plague.
Yeah. Oh man, for God's sake. I still haven't, do you know, 34 days in, I still don't have a Dark KO a banner. So annoying. All right. Hi, Ovs. We're down to the final 2. The final showdown. Here we go.
Okay. This one to me was really obvious. Hopefully he's still good in the game today. I don't know how he could fall off. I just went for Royal Guard.
Yeah.
Another champion I don't think I ever pulled on that main free-to-play account I had, but the whole kit's good. I think that's the underrated part about Royal Guard. He's got the enemy max HP, which I understand is less rare now, but when I played it was like extremely rare.
Yeah.
But on an AoE, I would assume that's still really rare on just a guaranteed full return cooldown, so you don't have to worry too much about booking it. And then I think people sleep on the A4. I mean, quad hitter, basically guaranteeing you're going to land a decreased speed, books down to 4 turns. And then he's got the big version defense break as well. And I guess the final thing would just be like dungeons, which is like probably where you're mostly going to use him. He's got an attack aura, which isn't always the best, but it can be the difference. Yeah. So he's just a superstar kind of guy. People run 2 of them for a reason, right? Or do they still do that? I don't know.
No, I think because obviously there's the cap on.
Okay, they used to run 2 of them for a reason.
Yeah, I guess some people you still could. I guess I think because there's so much. Well, I guess there's champions we're going to discuss here on your channel that's kind of power creeped in terms of enemy max HP champions anyway. But in regards to what he's still bringing, he's in my main Dark Fae team because decreased speed, turn meter drop, decreased defense, max HP, still very relevant. Obviously, there's the cap on the max HP now for the higher stages where it cannot exceed 10% of the boss.
Oh, is there really?
Yeah, so past the stage 20s, there's kind of that cap now. So that kind of gives you the diminishing returns.
Maybe that was there when that probably was there when I played because I had 25s, but interesting. I forgot about that. Still a good choice, I think.
I guess for me, I'm going to go... I'm kind of stuck here. I was going to say Skiramis. I know that Ash is a big fan of him. I was going to say Tyro.
You can say him. I don't know who that is, so...
All right. Yeah, I'd say Skiramis because he's got the AoE provoke, right, on a 3-turn cooldown, and he's also got counterattack and continuous heal on himself to play the role as a mischief tanking Hydra boss. So basically, that boss, or that head, he kind of goes for the champion with the most buffs, and if you've got high resistance, he's not able to steal and spread them. So a very nice synergy for an A3. He also comes in with an AoE decrease attack and decreasing the duration of buffs. So if they've got like an increased attack or something. And he's also got a chance to place a stun on the A1 and stealing buffs. So yeah, I think Skaramis is definitely someone to watch out for if you don't have a provoker, I guess. Another one I was going to highlight.
Does he hit? Does he hit all right too?
He's all right. It's hard to expect because HP-based champions are not notorious for. There's a very select few that can smack, you know. But you can put up some decent numbers.
They're notorious for not being good at it.
Yeah, there's some exceptions with like White King Narcissus and stuff, but yeah. I think the other one I was going to mention is Evelyn the Golden. I think he's going to grow over time because with mythical champions, you can actually block their active skills so they cannot metamorph. And he's one of the few epics that brings it as an AoE ability as a Void champion. And I think, you know, he's kind of like a Gembo the Dishonored, if you remember that dude from Shadowkin.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of like a variation, you know. Goes into this, extra turn.
Genbo like ignores stuff, right?
Yeah, he ignores the unkillable and yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a few good ones there. And Bannerlords. Awesome. I think there's one that we're going to be fighting over here, so.
Yeah, well, I actually, there's to me like two were the really obvious ones. I actually picked one who maybe is who you're talking about, but then Cole Red made a suggestion. I was like, oh my god, how did I forget her? She's my favorite. So I am going to go with Ursala.
Oh, okay, nice. Yep.
But the other one you're going to pick, right? So we'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, I just think like this revive is insane, and you can get really lucky and just land that one book. 5-turn revive, 75% HP, 50% turn meter with the two best, I'm assuming they still are, the two best damage mitigation buffs in the whole game. Just lovely, lovely. And then the fact that, you know, you want that AoE drop attack and you want to boost your attack. She's doing it together. Yes, she's going to have to read the entire encyclopedia to get there. But boy, oh boy, 3-turn cooldown getting that. And then, I mean, kind of spicy that she's got the little like built-in evil eye thing on the A1. Just really well-rounded. I did have her, and I did use her in like everything. So I originally picked the guy you're about to talk about, but then when Coldred said that, I was like, oh, I have to pick her because she was like the MVP of my account, and I didn't even have the other guy. So, and also YST land, Doom Tower, 24%. I use that a ton.
Yeah, it's massive. Like I was actually speaking about the best epic revivers, and people were actually mad at me that I put her above some other ones. And I'm like,
who's better than her though?
There's actually a champion I should have mentioned. I'm probably just gonna go back to that one in a second, but there's not for me. It's an AoE revival with 75% turn meter and 50% turn meter. Like this is a lot, and the crazy buffs that could be used without revivals
for 3 turns. So everyone comes back up with most of their health, half of their turn meter, and they're gonna be really hard to deal damage on if you don't get those buffs off for 3 turns. Like it's just nutty.
Yeah, and she looks like Martyr as well, and it's a pretty cool take on that skin. So I guess for me, we're gonna go with Oathbound. No, I'm joking. We're gonna go Stagnite, of course. It's just a fundamental champion. Decreased attack, decreased defense, decreased speed, everything you need as a player, right? And he can smack with an increased accuracy if you resisted. I guess the champion
he's free, right? Because they're still running the battle pass all the time.
No, he's not.
I'm joking.
Oh,
he was back in the day.
Man, this is crazy. I was actually thinking for a second, is there a Stagnite I can get on the free to play? I was like, what?
No. There's like in 2020 they did that Whirlum Stagnite thing, and Stagnite was free, and Whirlum you had to buy like the premium version, and then they were like, wait, this is way too good. We can never do that again. So I'm assuming they still haven't done it. Based on your reaction.
The other revival that I was kind of thinking about is Dawncaller Sabbather, who was a part of a most recent fusion.
I don't know her.
Yeah, she was a part of the most recent one, and a lot of us got our hands on her. Basically, she's got a revival that's comparable to Siphi the Lost Bride, who's a Void Legendary, because revives an ally with 25% HP and 100% turn meter, right?
Wow.
Almost immediate turn, but also a block damage on them for 2 turns, not just a 1 turn. And if we have a quick look at Siphi from the Undead, she does a revival with full turn meter, so there is a difference between 100% and full with like the turn meter units. Someone can still cut in at 100%. But, you know, increased attack, increased crit rate. She's not really protecting them, right? She's just giving them this turn. So very comparable to an epic champion here. But then
totally.
Also, she brings in increased defense and increased attack on a 3-turn cooldown and some heals on the A1. So she could easily be someone I would have mentioned. My 6
Did you like so she was like an epic you fused for legendary, and I'm assuming everyone skipped the legendary because she's so crazy.
The legendary was good as well. I think for people that didn't go for the legendary, she was a no-brainer. It was like a Godseeker situation. You do not skip this epic, right?
Yeah.
But I guess
Awesome.
yeah, that was the movie marathon for today, guys. I appreciate anyone that kind of stayed through towards the end. Fastidious, it's been a pleasure to finally have you on after such a long time. And any last words here before we wrap things up?
No, it was really fun. I did not expect it to be this long, but maybe because it was overdue, I did have a lot of fun. And it was kind of when you pitched me the idea in my head, maybe I DM'd you. I was like, oh, I'm gonna learn some stuff because you're gonna mention heroes I don't know or talk about meta things or content changing, and I absolutely did. So it was beneficial to me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed your list as well. Took me aback with a few of them, like the Steel Skulls and a few honorable mentions there. But guys, like I mentioned, we're heading over to Fastidious channel right now to check out we'll talk about some power creep in the game and some champions that it's kind of
I can't wait. I'm scared.
Yeah, I'm scared as well, honestly. The comment section, I'm like, so guys, if you want to come and roast me, you know where to find us. And yeah, on that note, I'll see you all on a video soon. Peace.